Hi, everybody. Welcome back to A Dose of Reality. This is episode 2 from Bars to Bridges. Again, my name is Abby Weiss, and today I have Stan the LETI Man. We'll be talking about recovery, justice, and changing the system. Some of our goals for today's episode, we want to look into the link between substance use disorder and incarceration as a whole. So, according to the National Institute of Drug Abuse, 65% of the U.S. prison population has an active substance use disorder. Stan, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi, sure. My name's Stan Lewandowski. I am a certified recovery specialist working for Carbon Monroe Pike Drug and Alcohol, and I work with the DA's office to facilitate our law enforcement treatment initiative, otherwise known as LETI.
Perfect. So, Stan, you know firsthand just how substance use and the justice system often collide, but you also are aware of how recovery can build a bridge out. So do you just want to connect the LETI program to that perspective?
Sure. My experience with the active addiction and the justice system is pretty long. I haven't been to prison myself, a few stints, overnight stints in jail, but I've been arrested, and I've had a lot of dealings with the justice system. I know that it's not always the answer. Sometimes it is. But more times than not, I think that it would be more beneficial to a person who's introduced to some kind of treatment to be able to get out of that revolving door of going in and out of prison. And this program gives an opportunity for people to go into treatment and then hopefully find some kind of a recovery plan along with that.
Yeah, absolutely. I like how you said that for some people, prison is the answer, because we do hear stories where people do get clean in jail or prison setting, but I feel like those stories are kind of few and far between. So having an option for someone to go into more of a treatment-based setting is probably really beneficial.
Yeah, I mean, consequences are important. I've had a lot of them, and a lot of them didn't have to do with the justice system, but they were necessary. If I didn't have any consequences for my lifestyle, why would I stop, right?
Yeah. What was your life like before you went down this path of addiction or substance use?
Okay, so it was a progressive story. Started out very young with alcohol, marijuana, led into other drugs. My life was pretty stable. I didn't have the worst family life, but that disease got a hold of me. The substance use disorder did get a hold of me early on, and I was able to function. I held a job for a long time. I've had 3 different careers, but ultimately the substance use took away from everything I was trying to do.
Right.
And I ended up living on the street, addicted to heroin.
Okay. Thanks for sharing. And I feel like just kind of that progressive nature is what happens to a lot of people. I know we touched on it in our last podcast, but for people who didn't hear that one, we always like to say that you don't wake up one day and decide that you are going to have an addiction. So that kind of just like is so touching for a lot of people, I think. And then even though you haven't spent time in a jail or prison setting, I think that you had justice system involvement, correct?
Yep.
So what did that look like in your case, or even in the lives of the people that you work with today?
Well, I mean, it was the lives of the people that were around me in my active addiction as well. Everyone that I knew had spent some time in jail. So I mean, I heard the stories. I got to secondhand see what life is like when you're incarcerated. So I while I don't have experience, I have a little bit of knowledge on what it's like. Nobody wants to be there. Like you said, nobody was a little kid and said, I want to be an addict when I get older.
Right.
But I got to tell you, in the beginning, it was a good thing. It was the answer to a lot of things that I dealt with, those drugs. And that's where the catch is. That's where it catches you, because everything that you feel like these drugs are doing for you, it's basically a big lie. And somewhere along the line, I couldn't tell you when, it was a big problem. It went from a way to get out of myself, be more social, have more fun. And somewhere along the line, it was, boy, this is just ruining me.
Yeah. It's like a Band-Aid for some of these like quick life problems until it's not doing what it was in the beginning, which I think is really important. Did you have like you don't necessarily have to hit rock bottom to enter recovery. Did you have any sort of rock bottom moment that led you towards recovery?
I've had quite a few rock bottoms,
Fair.
and each one was lower than the previous.
Yeah.
I didn't get into treatment till well into my 40s.
Okay.
I tried to figure it out myself. I knew it was a problem. There's no doubt that this is a problem. And I promised myself so many times, I'm going to do these drugs tonight, and tomorrow morning, this is it. And when I said that, I meant it.
Yeah.
But tomorrow morning would come, and that was all gone. And I spent a lot of years trying to figure out ways that I could just get myself out of this, and with no avail. There was just nothing. And I finally went into treatment, and I learned a lot. That's the value of treatment, especially if you haven't been in treatment before.
Right.
Your eyes are open to so many things. I've been through 7 treatment facilities over about 19 years.
Okay.
My story is I'll go in there, I'll do everything. I'll be Mr. Recovery while I'm in treatment. I'll do really well. And then around 90 days after I leave, I'm back to where I was. And there's a few different reasons for that. The biggest one was that I thought I knew what I needed, I don't need this, but I'll do this. This is convenient for me, but I'm not going to do this,
Yep.
Picked and choose the recovery program that suited me, and it never worked. Right. A sponsor once told me, if you go to the doctor with a really bad disease like cancer, they're going to tell you what to do, and you're going to do everything they tell you. That was the ticket. That's what was missing in my previous attempts at recovery. And it was only that last bottom, which was the lowest one I've ever had, and that I was able to surrender and say, okay, what do I got to do?
Yeah.
I'll do it.
So it took you like a lot of these rock bottom moments to kind of figure out what you needed to do personally to get there. Did you face any barriers to getting into treatment? I know you said that it took you a while to reach that first door of a treatment center.
It's funny. There was always funding for me. I
Okay.
never went in with having private insurance or money to pay. The funding was always there until the last time.
Really?
Yeah, I went in there and I was turned down for county funding.
Okay.
So I went to detox, and they took me to the mission, and I had to stay in the mission. And there's no doubt if I had to stay there, I'd have been back out doing what I'm doing. What I did was I got on a bus, and I went to the public assistance office, and I begged. I actually begged, and they put me back in. And I think because I had to work so hard, that had a little bit to do with, let's not mess this up, because this could be our last chance.
Yeah. What kind of barriers do you see, or did you see, for other people trying to get into treatment? I know that funding is something.
Well, there's funding. There's family.
Yep.
Whether it's I can't leave my family, or I can't leave my job, or I can't leave my dog. That's a big one.
Yeah.
Or my pets. And these are all things that are very important, and I get that. But I've also learned, without taking care of yourself, those other things aren't gonna work themselves out.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
How does the LETI program help people kind of get over some of these barriers to treatment? I know that just kind of like working in the field, studying the field, all of these things, a lot of barriers that pop up for people are access to treatment, whether that be financial or like geographical distance, or getting to treatment if they're in an outpatient program.
Right. We have seen quite a few barriers in our year and a half that we've been actively doing this. Transportation's definitely one of them. Work, of course. One of the biggest ones is I'm not sure I want to stop.
Yeah.
I know it's ruining my life, but addiction's been, I don't like that word. I don't want to use it, but substance use has been such a big part of my life that I'm not sure I'm ready to let it go. And no logical reason for that. It's just, that's been the number one thing in my life, like the love of my life.
Right.
And it's hard to walk away from something that's been so important to you for so long.
I think it's also probably scary for people to take that next step, because it's all they've known, or not necessarily all they've known, but what they've known for such a long time, that going back to a life without it is probably intimidating.
When I left treatment the last time, I was was scared to the point of breaking down. And I thought it was because I was afraid that I was going to fail at this recovery, but it wasn't that. I learned later on, I was afraid of what life's going to be like without my go-to, without my drugs. It was scared the heck out of me. I learned since that it really didn't have anything to fear, but at that point, that's what in my head, that's what I was afraid of. You know?
I mean, you didn't know at that point that you'd be able to figure it out without. Do you want to tell us a little bit more about the LETI program just as a whole? So I know it was introduced in Pennsylvania in 2021, I believe, as a whole. Right. And when did Monroe County itself take on the LETI program?
I believe it was May of 2022.
Okay.
Yeah. And I came on board in January of the following year, and that's when we really ramped it up. There's 3 different tracks. The track 1 would mean anyone that needs any kind of help with substance use can approach an officer, a probation officer, me, anyone, and say, "Look, I need some help," and we'll provide that. Track 2 would be pre-arrest. If an officer pulls somebody over, they have low-level charges they're facing, they can hold those charges, get them into treatment, and if they complete that program, all the recommended levels of care, the charges they won't file the charges.
Okay.
And then what I work with mostly is track 3. Once the charges are filed, I go to the preliminary hearings. I go through files like the week before, flag anybody I think might be a good candidate for the program. And then I meet with them in court and I talk to them. I try to inspire them to, this might be your chance to change your life. And we put them in treatment, get them assessed. And then whatever that assessment recommends, they need to complete it. And they come back usually 90 days. Sometimes it's a little longer. But if they complete all levels of care that are recommended, the charges will be withdrawn. And that's one less thing because, pending charges and involvement in the justice system is just as big of a impediment to getting clean. It's just another thing to worry about.
Right. And I think that it also makes it harder for people to kind of re-enter society once they have any amount of a track record truly in the justice system. And that's also an intimidating thing to go through. So when someone comes to the LETI program or you find them within the LETI program, is treatment voluntary?
Well, it is a voluntary program. I will sit with them and do kind of a pre-screen to see if they're even going to meet criteria for treatment. There's really low level, small amount of marijuana. Then maybe they have a marijuana medical card. They're not going to probably get treatment for that. Right. So we will stop it right there, and they'll have to move forward with the charges. But if there's any indication of any other kind of substance use, especially if there's something that they may be going to detox for, we get them signed up and get them assessed as soon as we can and help them any way we can to get to the assessment, get to treatment. And then I kind of work with them along the way. I've been through it all, so I use my experience to help guide them through the early part of recovery.
Yeah, I'm sure that has to be rewarding for you as well.
It is, yeah.
Do you have any success stories that you'd like to share from people that you've worked with in the program? Any ones that really stick out to you? I
would not be doing this if I didn't. And there's so many. The first LETI person we had was actually from an overdose outreach, which is also what we do. And she is doing very well. Has a really good job now, is very much involved with recovery. She had some issues with her children, and that's all been resolved. And that's one. But we could come up with, we've had almost 80 people that have completed treatment in LETI.
Okay, awesome.
And there's a bunch of different stories that we could share. We actually shared a few in our annual report last year about people that have changed their life. I just got a guy that come out of treatment last week, and I got nothing but good reports about him. And he's going to move on to a halfway house and start all over.
Awesome. Do you guys have connections with any of the sober living homes for people who are interested in them?
We do.
Okay.
I have connections here. There's not too many sober homes in Monroe County. But I've worked in Lehigh and Northampton County. I have connections in Lackawanna and Luzerne County.
Okay.
There's a lot of places you can go. And for me, I come from Harrisburg. It's not necessary to leave your area, but sometimes it helps. If you have nothing holding you, I ended up in Allentown.
Okay.
And that's where my life started, And now I'm up here, and it's like I lived here all my life. I've been here 4 years. Yeah.
Okay. So you're still kind of new to the area, but you've taken it on well. I know you said that sometimes you get to work with people through these early steps of recovery. Why do you think that's so important in the process of recovery?
I needed it. Here's why. I didn't know how to recover. Thought I did. But when I finally realized I don't know what I'm doing here, I needed someone to walk alongside me to help get through the challenges, the hurdles that we face in early recovery, whether it's finding a job, finding housing, just finding support, learning to deal with the urges that we get, and they come. As much as we want to be clean and stay clean, those urges come.
Absolutely.
And if we're not prepared for those, they're going to win out. So I try to help them build some kind of a support system. I remain available because I realize that if we have urges or even obsessions to use, up here in my head they make sense.
Yes.
It's a good idea for me to take a pain pill because my knee hurts a little bit. But if I say that out loud to you or anyone else, then I'm like, yeah, no, that wouldn't work out well at all. So we have to have people that we can go to get through those moments,
Yeah.
And that's the basic support that's needed for people that are in early recovery.
Absolutely. I know we touched on it last week too, but just how isolating of a disease substance use is. So I think even like you just said, building that connection so early on makes the recovery process so much easier.
One of the biggest symptoms of addiction is the isolation. My family, who loved me to death, I'd hurt them to a point that they had to come and say, we can't have you in our life anymore. And at that point, I was offended. How could you?
Absolutely.
I look back now, and I'm grateful that happened. It needed to happen to help get my head right.
Yeah. I think that isolation kind of goes both ways as well. So for the person using whatever substance, they might kind of take a step back from that family unit or the things that they're involved in. So these early support and peer guidance, I think, kind of helps to reintegrate them back into the things that truly matter in their lives.
And there's a lot of shame that comes with that lifestyle. If you're around people you're using with, you're fine.
Right.
But you're also trying to hide from the world this life you're living and from your family. And that shame is only alleviated by doing more drugs. It's a vicious circle.
Absolutely.
So we have to learn to kind of forgive ourselves and move on. I'm not proud of the life I live, but I'm proud of where I came from.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. Okay. So I know the LETI program has involvement with some of the police officers, the troopers in this area. Can you just share a little bit more about their role in this and kind of how they're helping people to get recovery? Because I know how scary it is and how much of a setback the justice system is and how it's intimidating possibly to go up to a trooper or a police officer and say, hey, look, this is where I'm at and I need you to help me.
Yeah, that is very intimidating. It's been 1.5 years, and I'm now just getting used to interacting with the police, with judges. It's in our area. I've found that, and I was a little worried about how they were going to take this program, but I've been very, very pleased at the way law enforcement, the judges have the prosecutors have been on board. I have very little resistance, and they do have the last say. If there's a prosecutor or an affiant that doesn't feel like this is going to be their program for them, and then that's what it is. We can't overrule. We just refer, and then they can decide. Most of the time, they decide. Once in a while, they say, "No, I think this person needs to face these charges." As far as myself with law enforcement and my addiction, the last time I was arrested was for possession and a DUI. Okay. And the cop was, you'd almost thought he knew about LETI because he was really made me feel comfortable. arrested me, pressed,
Yeah.
but he went to the ADA and said, if we can give this guy a break, if he goes into treatment. And that was actually like a turning point in my life. And later on down the road, I was pretty grateful for that moment. And I wrote this, it was in Harrisburg.
Okay.
I wrote the state policeman a letter just saying, hey, look, I don't know if you remember me or not, but I was arrested by you on January 2nd, 2015. And I just want to let you know that my life has completely turned around since then, just because they like to hear success stories as well, I think. And it helped me to feel better about law enforcement because, living that lifestyle, they're the enemy.
Yeah.
In my head, they're the enemy. I got to stay away from them. They're after me. And that's a big problem, especially with people in active addiction. That's a big deterrent to getting help. Is I can't go tell a cop I'm using.
Right, because that fear of still being arrested and incarcerated lingers over someone's head, even with some of these efforts that we're making. So I think it's important just kind of to get the word out that the problem exists, and we know the problem exists, and you have people in all aspects who are on your side.
Yeah.
Even here in Monroe County, I'm not sure in Monroe County in particular necessarily, but accidental drug overdoses are the #1 killer in the state of Pennsylvania as a whole.
Yeah.
So by having the LETI program and knowing that you even have police officers who are on your side and want to see you succeed means a lot. Whether people are willing to acknowledge it at the time of an arrest is another thing, which is fair. But it touches so many lives here in Monroe County, in the state, and in the country as a whole. So I think it's just important that we're taking these steps for people to feel comfortable.
And I feel like we've come a long way. Even in the year and a half, we were, going to houses for people that survived overdoses and had ambulances called.
Okay.
We would get those calls and we go out and we visit these people. In the beginning, it was a cop coming to the door.
Yeah.
Now I think people are getting used to the fact that if you overdose, we're going to come see you. We're going to come. We're mean you no harm. We're trying to help. And I think that went a long way to help the public, the way they look at law enforcement, and especially people that are wrapped up in substance use.
Right, because even those efforts make it so if it is still a police officer and you yourself possibly going to someone's door, you're not meeting them with a warrant for their arrest.
Yep.
Right.
We say we come in peace. That's our first thing, because they see, a police car and they see an officer with a badge, and little old me, I'm just here to help you, and she's here because it's law enforcement cares about what's happening to you. We don't want to see the worst that can happen when it comes to this. We've realized that most people that have died of an overdose have had one prior.
Okay.
So if we can catch them before that, we go a long way to curbing them numbers you were talking about.
Absolutely. When you meet people for the post-overdose, check-ins, I guess, what kind of information do you provide them with? Give me a general outline of what that might look like.
Well, first and foremost, we make sure they have naloxone.
Okay.
And then we have we usually have a bag, like a little backpack bag, and we put some information on treatment. Our cards are in there. And I sit and talk to them. I say, look, I've been through this. So you can talk to me. I don't judge. And that goes a long way.
Right.
When I can tell somebody that, how am I going to judge you when I went through the same kind of life? I've gotten away from it. I got help to get out of it. And maybe I can help you too. That's kind of the main reason we go there, just to let them know that there are options. There is another path out, which a lot of times at that point in their life, they just don't see that.
When people have these charges on them, or they're pending charges, whatever the case may be, do you find that they're often willing to enter treatment when they have someone like yourself go up to them and say, hey, I've been through this. We have another option for you. Are you met with a lot of hesitancy?
Not as much as I would have thought.
Okay.
And some of it may be, this will get me out of jail. Great. But not as much as I would have thought of that either. I'll give it a try. They don't know if it's going to work or not. I talk to them. They see that it worked for me. Why not try? That's all I ask. Give it a whirl. Your old lifestyle will be there whenever you want it back. but why not give it a try? And for the most part, once in a while, there was a point in my life when you told me that, and I said, nah, I'm not quite done with this yet.
Absolutely.
So we meet them where they're at, though.
Yeah, I like that. Meet them where they're at. I think we say that pretty often in the field as a whole, but it really is like the guideline that
important.
you should go by. How many years in recovery are you?
In March, it was 10 years.
Congratulations on 10 years. So what keeps you motivated personally in your recovery? I know that being involved in the LETI program probably is beneficial to you, but what else?
So I want to make it clear that there's a difference between treatment and recovery. I've been through the treatment. I've completed my treatment. Recovery to me is a whole new lifestyle.
Right.
Has very little to do with the drugs. It's just living a new way. And it's an incredible journey. I got to tell you, I love that word. Somebody told me that in the very beginning. When I was leaving treatment, they say, "Hey, enjoy the journey." And I thought, that's pretty cool. And today I just enjoy where I'm at in the journey today. Not looking forward to the destination, because there really is none.
Yeah.
And the lifestyle that I have the opportunity to help others is something I never got that memo when I was in active addiction. I thought I was a nice guy, but it was all about me. It was all about Stan in those days. And today I can quiet my head knowing that I don't have to worry about Stan so much. My needs are met, and it's unlike any other drug that you'll ever do when you see someone's life change and you had a little bit to do with that.
Absolutely.
It's impossible for me to use if I'm trying to help somebody not use. I say that all the time, but it's true, and it does get easier along the way. There's always thoughts of using, but they get very fewer and far between. And I have tools to, I'm still part of my 12-step program. Actually, it's in Allentown. That's where I started off. My home group's there. I go there every week. That's my recovery, though. That's not my job.
Yes.
It's got to be separated. I try to take part in self-care, and I've been a little bit lax on that lately. But I realize that, and I'm going to take steps to make sure that I'm okay, because I can't help anybody else if I'm not okay.
Absolutely.
So, and this job, they have a term called compassion fatigue. We have to watch out for that. But I love it. I come into work looking forward to work every day. Not everybody gets a job like that.
Absolutely. Thank you for that. What's your advice to someone who is still struggling? They're unsure of whether they want to be in recovery, want to take those steps to maybe go into treatment to change the course of their lives.
Right.
And they're feeling stuck in this active cycle of addiction.
Well, a couple things. I think a pro and con list. They have a program called Smart Recovery where you do a cost-benefit analysis. I never even thought to do anything like that, because you can fill out, you'll find things on the list that are a benefit to using them. I wouldn't have done it if there wasn't benefits to it. But then when you start listing the costs and see it on paper, it might motivate you to try, And I don't tell people to stop using forever. That's too hard. Get to bed tonight without using it. If you can focus on just today, I've done it for the last 10 years. Early on, I wanted to use so bad that I just told myself, I'll use tomorrow. I'm just not going to do it today. And it got me through today. It's very important that we focus on today, the moment, really.
Right.
And again, that lifestyle is always going to be there. It's not like you walk away from it, you can never go back. So yeah, it's just, let's give it a whirl. And, at the end of my addiction, the last time I wanted out, I was waking up dope sick on a park bench or under a bridge, did whatever I had to do. It was never anything good to find my next, hated myself for it, get through the day, wake up, repeat. That was my whole life. So I needed to make a change or I wasn't going to last. I had overdosed a couple times in the month before, and it just wasn't going to last like that.
Yeah. And I think you made a good point even there. Just while you were in your active addiction, your active substance use, you were still living one day at a time, just in a very different capacity of the one day at a time recovery pathway.
I was one day at a time in survival mode.
Yes.
Now I'm one day at a time in living life. You
Yeah.
know, I was alive then. Today I'm living, you know.
Today you get to experience all of the things that you didn't get a chance to while you
Yep.
were in that active
Yep.
cycle. So for people who want to get involved in the LETI program in some capacity, is there a way for them to do that? Just like a normal person?
I mean, there's always ways to help, and they're small. I mean, you could. We don't have any kind of right now. We want to expand.
Yeah.
But we're trying to, receive funding. I think it would be great if we had a female CRS as well. I mean, I can take care of
Right. Absolutely.
But it would be, a girl could talk to a girl, and there's a lot more. That would be really good. We have a lot of our graduates from LETI help us out with different events that we do.
Okay, so there is an opportunity for the people who went through the program to come back and help out.
We have our goal for this year is to start an alumni program, and that would be really good at keeping them involved.
Yeah.
In what we're doing and in their recovery. We're
Absolutely
going to try to get some funding and get that started.
So are the LETI alumni involved in any capacity for your program?
Yeah, we have quite a few people that have completed the LETI program come back and help us with different events we have throughout the year. For instance, our homeless outreach, we do that a few times a year. They'll come back, they'll go out with law enforcement. We really don't recommend anybody to go out without law enforcement. They can, but they shouldn't. But we go out, and it's another opportunity to show that law enforcement really cares.
Right.
But they go out and we bring them a bag with naloxone. This year we got sandwiches donated by Pioneer Diner. And we just say, hello, how you doing? What can we help you with?
Yeah, absolutely. Do you guys provide Narcan for the general public? I know that it's become a little bit easier to access for people. I know you can get it at the pharmacy for a low cost. You can order it online through some organizations. But if regular citizens were looking for a way just to kind of like keep the community safe, is that something you guys offer?
So good news. I'm not only the LETI man, but I'm the Narcan man.
Awesome.
I can get anyone as much Narcan as they need through the carbon monoxide drug and alcohol. The van's always stocked up with it. It says right on the side of the van, we have Narcan available in this vehicle. So, yeah, we want to put that in the hands of as many people as we can, and for obvious reasons.
I think it's just important to carry it, even if you don't think you're ever going to need to use it. You never know when you...
Walmart parking lot, a convenience store, bathroom, you just never know.
Do you have any final advice to any people listening, watching?
Educate yourself. Especially with family members. I worked as a certified family recovery specialist as well, and I know the harm it's caused family members. They go through their own set of harm when it comes to substance use. They need to heal, and as I listened to your last. You need to heal just like they do. Maybe not the same way, but the family members can't help unless they're okay. And I do, and we try to get with as many family members as we can. And my advice is educate yourself, love the person, hate the disease. That's very important as well. Encouragement is, I never thought I could stop. Everyone that knew me said, he's not going to stop. He's just going to be like that. But more importantly, I was the guy that said, I'm never going to be able to stop. A little bit of encouragement would go a long way. I know you don't think so, but I know you can do this.
Absolutely.
Things like that. It's the stigma that we deal with is getting better. It's still there, but it's getting better.
It is.
And I think the solution, the ultimate solution to this is education and understanding.
Of course. And if you're looking for more information, you can also visit the monroecountyda.com/LETI to learn more about the program. There's resources on there as well. And if you or someone you know is struggling, ask for help. You guys can reach out to the LETI program itself, to any one of us who are speaking on this matter. And most importantly, follow A Dose of Reality for more real stories and local solutions.